The ban.
NRG opting for second pick after losing that game. Yet again, Raffer, games 1 and 2 on the Khepri was so detrimental to those wins. Gonna take that option away.
Hey, when it's beating you over the head over and over again, make sure you take it away. They're getting rid of the Khepri. They're getting rid of the Ra. Pretty standard bans here coming out from Obey.
With Ra, Zeus, Nike off the table, Sylvanas yet again for Panda. Like, it's such a big, important comfort pick for them. And yet again, NRG, if they keep up to the same style with the defensive support, it's probably going to be a gap here. But I kind of want to see maybe Raffer play something more aggressive.
Yeah, Raffer has been known to play those aggressive gods, but this tournament, he's really been enjoying the passive gods, trying to keep his team alive. We talked about it just a moment ago. The Ratatasker for NRG. Do not let Variety have that god.
Oh, rip Variety, but then again, Tier is still available. We'll see if that's an option he'll go for. With the Poseidon, that's going to be a lot of damage. Ratatasker is not a god that Dimi often plays, so more than likely we should be seeing this on adapting.
No reason not to put him on adapting. So comfortable with him. It's a global ult. He's so used to it from Thor. Same style of kit. I'm still a little bit concerned about the Sylvanas over on Obey. While it worked for him in Game 3, Panda still found himself in a lot of trouble. He's been having those positioning issues, and so can he overcome it for this game?
It's going to be problematic to deal with the Kraken, but Fenrir getting locked in. Now, we haven't seen Variety play Fenrir. Normally, it's Captain Twig that opts for this kind of style, but we're about to hear some Stop the Fire, some more. Pretty Prime gets this Vulcan.
Fenrir used to be a really good pick into Ratatasker when he had his old kit, but now Ratatasker actually does fairly well against Fenrir because you can Acorn stun that Brutalize, which can put you into some bad predicaments as Fenrir.
But as long as you're careful with the timing of your Brutalize, you could chase the Ratatasker through the dash. Now, you have to always worry about the Poseidon Whirlpool Kraken because that will stop the Brutalize.
The Poseidon right now is going to have a very nice time against that Fenrir. It's incredibly annoying as Fenrir to go against Poseidon. Half of your abilities do involve that movement, so the cripple is very hard for you to deal with.
Now, game number 1, it was first pick Arlong Shen for Obey Alliance. NRG countered it with the Poseidon. Now, this time, NRG are the ones that get both the Poseidon and the Arlong Shen, so it definitely seems that there's some correlation to that.
Hey, they know how hard that counter is, and they're not going to deal with it themselves.
And Kamazot's being taken off the table, focusing out Variety. He was doing such wonders in game number 2. Despite losing that game, he was just going off completely. And that actually is indeed a past ban by Obey.
I can't imagine that was on purpose. I bet you they were trying to figure out who they wanted to ban, and they simply could not decide in time. That could come back to haunt them.
Another focus ban at Variety at the tier. There's still some options available to him if he wants to go aggressive. Vamana could be something that he goes for, especially paired up with this Fenrir. Although, if the matchup allows it, Fenrir could be for Variety.
He could. Variety will still have plenty of options. Of all the people on Obey right now, I'm not worried about Variety. He has shown that he can play multiple gods and that he's going to show up and perform.
Kronos now finally being removed for Emilito. It took them the game that they lost. Like, what?
It's about time that they took Kronos off the table. Has Emilito even had to bother to play anything else this entire tournament?
I don't know, but either way, now they don't have to worry about all those rewinds and all those secondary lives. Freya being locked in for NRG. I don't expect this Amusikov to actually be locked in. There's not much escape on the side of Obey. Vulcan, Sylvanas, Amusikov against such a devastating composition between this Freya, Poseidon, Ratatasker.
Obey definitely playing to the crowd. They know what the crowd wants to see. They want to see the hover over the AMC, but the Jingwei is still open, and you know Ataraxia. If there's Jingwei in the table, we're going to have Jingwei in the game.
Now, Solo's still available, but Jingwei definitely a better choice if you're trying to play a little bit more carefully with that passive, getting back into the laning phase, but Thanatos locked in.
The Thanatos pick last time ended up working out decently well for them. Unfortunately, he had a pretty hard early game, actually, which is uncharacteristic of Thanatos. If he can get just a stronger early game off, he'll be able to snowball even better into the late game.
Do you expect an invade from Obey Alliance? They have Fenrir and Thanatos, no matter who it goes to for solo or jungle.
How many times have we seen invades coming out this tournament? Pretty much every single match. Absolutely would not surprise me to see it coming out. A very strong level 1 comp. Sylvanas as well, very strong at level 1 with that root. And Terra, not the strongest level 1.
Terra last picked. When in the SMITE history in the past 3 months has Terra been last picked?
She has been having a pretty rough tournament, actually. Her win rate has not been particularly impressive, but you know what? she's still one of the best gods in the game.
I feel that we might see something change this game, though.
Oh, all right, guys. Game 4. The bans, the picks are set. We had a pass, which was, you know, wow. Okay, we'll see how that plays out, Cotton. All right, so, guys, I need predictions. Who's got this game?
I still can't imagine that NRG would lose 2 games in a row here. It's gotta be NRG.
Whoever I pick keeps losing, so I'm picking NRG.
Okay. All right, guys, let's see how this pans out. Will NRG become your 2017 SMITE World Champions, or will Obey do the unthinkable, win 2 in a row, and force a Game 5? They need your hype. They need your energy. Let's go ahead and send it over to the casters.
Thank you so much, Golden Boy. And this crowd is behind Obey. We've said it before, though, you know, everyone in SMITE, in the SMITE world, loves an underdog, and right now these 2 teams are.
And honestly, just such a great performance from Variety in that solo lane.
Before we go in game,
everything.
Eager signed this earlier today. Can you throw it out to the crowd for us? You don't
Who wants
on
it?
Camera.
No
The whole
one.
Eager crew signed that. World champions as well. Good luck. Fight. Anyway, talking about fighting, Obey versus NRG is now underway. The wards are down heavy on the right-hand side, and Obey are going very deep into the enemy jungle.
It's Variety on this Thanatos, another assassin for Variety in the solo lane. It worked out the first time. I don't see any reason to change it. I like it.
And he's been playing just so well. He's added so many gods to his god pool. And I love this combination of Fenrir, Thanatos early. There's so much damage between Death Scythe and Brutalize. NRG are going to have to be incredibly careful of their positioning.
You mentioned how many gods he's added to his god pool, but I cannot believe we haven't seen Ymir from him yet. This was a good comp. No one can get over the Ymir wall, though I do understand you don't like Ymir into gods like Poseidon, like Terra. They can really punish you for being immobile. Instead, he's got to look for those early executes. Demi can bait him with that ult. The big burst of healing could come into play there.
Captain Twig actually setting up for the invade, but quickly spotted out by NRG.
Well, at the same time, NRG may go into the enemy jungle here as well, but Captain Twig's just really here to zone, as his teammates have already started the speed buff.
But again, Captain Twig has gone for Wrath against Poseidon. We saw how that worked out last time when he was playing Erlong Shen. He needs to be careful about that Kraken. It really punished him last time.
And Obey are really trying to abuse the early game here. They've invaded the right-hand side of NRG's jungle. They steal both buffs, and their own jungle is very secure.
Games 1 through 3, Demi goes Wrath, doesn't lose his blue buff. Okay, I can go teleport, right guys? Nope, we got a Wrath invade. Demi loses on that early blue, and I love it. Keep Variety ahead in this lane. He's gotten a solo kill every single game so far.
And that's why I do love the teleport coming out from Demi, because he has struggled so much against Variety. If he had teleport beforehand, he might have been able to repeatedly get back to lane, stay at least relatively close to Variety in farm, or even matches rotations.
But this time it's Captain Twig still putting that pressure on the right-hand side, and again allowing Ataraxia to solo on the left, keeping up his farm with Emilito.
And just talking about Captain Twig again, you mentioned, you know, that Poseidon really destroying him when he went to Erlong Shen jungle, but with Fenrir, he has a CC immune ultimate, so he's going to be so much safer. And Fenrir isn't the worst from behind if he starts to build into a frontline style and play setup for Prime.
And that's exactly what he did last time we saw Captain Twig on this Fenrir, was that setup for Prime. But that time it was Prime on the Zeus, which is much stronger in the early game than Vulcan. We'll have to see if they're going to wait until a little bit later in the game to start looking for that setup.
And this start has worked out very well for Obey so far. They've managed to control the enemy jungle, get themselves a nice little gold lead, but more importantly, the experience.
And you can see just multiple levels across the board, adapting, actually having to come and split a wave with Emilito. You don't want that as a Freya, especially against a Jingwei. We've said it time and time again. Jingwei is so good against gods she can repeatedly poke out and get into trades with.
And Freya is that god, basically, especially without a starter item. Plus, remember that you can use your agility out of the banish from Freya, so you can see it's going to be difficult for Emilito to peel for himself in this lane.
And experience, again, a 2-level lead for Variety against Demi after having that stolen buff and adapting, continuously splitting waves with his side lanes. They are really going to suffer if he keeps having to get farm here.
I thought they were set up for adapting there, but instead he's going to put a bit of poke onto Demi if can with the scythe. Not going to connect this time, though.
And we saw last time Variety played this Thanatos, I believe it was in the Eager series. The death sights were good. They weren't phenomenal, but the executes were on point. It was kind of the opposite of what we saw from Captain Twig earlier.
Captain Twig really struggled on the Thanatos, and this is why I like him on this god instead, where he's just going to be this frontline god. Let Variety, Pretty Prime, and Ataraxia be these hard carries. Focus on setting up for them.
And that's exactly what the idea is, because Pretty Prime is on his signature Vulcan.
Yes.
And Ataraxia is on his signature Jingwei. There was a time where neither of these players got these two characters for themselves.
And you say that as well, but then I would class Captain Twig's Fenrir to be pretty much his prime as well after what we saw him doing it yesterday up against Eager.
I'm actually a little bit surprised we haven't seen a Hunbats of all gods come out from him. He is phenomenal on that. And this is going to be Captain Twig's game, or it's going to have to be. It's so much harder for a
Pull in mid lane, but no follow-up from Prime available. The red buff being invaded right now by Captain Twig.
There it
What
is.
a great Ragnarok to cancel out the Kraken, and the Earthshaker doesn't really find a mark in the sky, however, is adapting, and he'll come down on 2, looking for Captain Twig, who's staying with his team.
He's still alive, able to jump out from the root as well. Emilito finally able to pick him up with that Valkyrie's discretion. Now Pretty Prime gonna be the next target. Sanctuary buys him a moment, but not enough. Yaman able to pick up the second.
Panda-like in a little bit of trouble too here, surrounded by 2 players.
Panda-like slow, now rooted in place. Raffer, nowhere to go. Emilito picking him up, but Variety, again, the saving grace for Obey.
Teleporting into the mid lane, at least able to answer back right now. Level 8, the highest level in the game again. Obey, I like the invade. Captain Twig using that CC immune ultimate, avoiding the knockup and the center of that Kraken. Shell as well coming out, buying time for Obey. But the issue is, they were just too split up.
And the fact that the Vulcan ultimate was a little bit off was the key there. I like the idea from Pretty Prime. He was looking for Yaman in Captain Twig's mouth, but because of the immediate purification, and then it's really a 50-50. Which way does Yaman juke? Guess is wrong. Unfortunate situation there for the mid laner.
Well, right now it's 4 minutes in and 4 kills. Once again, the pace is very quick in the early stages of the game. But does this favor one team over another?
It absolutely favors Obey in this early game. You've got the Thanatos, you've got the Fenrir. Vulcan is your failsafe for the late game. That's the one where if the plan doesn't go according to, you have that extra boost in the late game.
And despite getting 3 kills, including the first blood for NRG, it's still Obey with the slight gold lead. They're doing a great job of farming across the map. Dimmy, net worth, again, very low. This Thanatos has a 600 gold lead already in this game. Obey have to he's been the star. Just keep playing through Variety.
Exactly, and Captain Twig, who's been the one pushing this pace for Obey. You see that gold lead for Variety. That's created because Dimmy is not able to pick up any of those buffs on the right-hand side. He was able to secure his own blue, but it's been Captain Twig consistently over here, making sure these minion waves are under tower.
And both junglers are staying in this solo lane right now, looking to apply pressure and make sure there's none of their opposition. The crowd there really enjoyed that death size in chunks at the early stage.
And this is the best time for them to fight.
Into the sky, early on goes Variety there, expecting Captain Twig to be able to connect with that engage.
I love the idea there. They're going all in. That's Variety trusting his team to make sure they're able to find it. A little bit off the mark for Captain Twig, but I love it.
Ultimate by 2 there because there's an ult coming down on top, but already Panda-Like's taken out. Captain Twig gonna Ragnarok and pick up Rafa, bring him back towards that Vulcan, but they're not gonna be able to bring down Terra just yet.
Beautiful stun there by Raffer, stopping the Brutalize and the chase potential coming out for Captain Twig, but Panda-Like there just on a different page with the rest of his team. Pretty Prime was retreating to the mid as Panda-Like pushes forward, tries to ult Yaman and set up for him, but no one was in position to follow up.
But you can see how well the Fenrir and Vulcan are going to work together in the mid stages of the game, holding someone in the mouth, just waiting.
Ataraxia's in a lot of trouble. Emilito's going to give chase. Where's he going to land? Back on himself. Sanctuary to buy him a moment. Meanwhile, in the jungle on the right-hand side, Rafa claims the life of Captain Twig.
Emilito going really aggressive there, but at the very least forcing out Jingwei. The issue is, without that kill, Jingwei's going to be able to come back and farm up. Emilito probably going to lose another wave under this tower.
But that's a Sanctuary down for Ataraxia. Not only is that important in this lane, we saw how it saved Ataraxia's life there, but in the rotations toward middle lane, that Kraken is going to be hunting for Ataraxia's head.
This Thanatos just so far ahead, 2 levels over Dimmy, 3 levels over Adapting, and again, like you mentioned, that Sanctuary down, it's gonna open up opportunities to pick off Ataraxia, but Adapting, he has to babysit Dimmy at this point. It's so dangerous for him to rotate over to that left-hand side.
But he's playing this Ratatosker, and that global ultimate pressure is so key. It allows him to stay over here and not worry about any fight breaking out in the middle lane.
Gold Fury has maybe been started up here by Obey, looking to see, they're actually looking to pick on Emilito. Thanatos, who immediately purifies. Kraken hits 2, but meanwhile, Ataraxia, where was he going? Great ultimate with the Earthshaker coming out from Pretty Prime. Oh, what a response from Panda-like. That was huge. And Captain Twig will find the rats and send him back to base.
Pretty Prime there with the backfire. Panda-like jumping up and down. Nowhere to
He's
go.
still
Rapper
alive.
misses the root.
And now he still
down.
doesn't get away. Captain Twig trying to collapse. Variety in the sky, hunting, lurking, but Emelito responds with an ult of his own. Variety's low as well now. Still, Dimmy in the fight, heals back up.
But Yemen's back, the whirlpool. Twig can't jump out. The root, he can root the rat. And no, not able to get out. Dimmy finds it with the pin.
And now Bride's gonna fall as well as Dimmy is finally stepping onto the world stage. 2 kills for the NRG solo laner, and the Gold Fury will stand.
Really weird timing for Obey to go aggressive and try and take that fight. Dimmy had teleport up. Variety had just wasted his to get back to his lane. That allowed Dimmy to get into that fight much faster. By the time we saw Variety come there and make it an even 5-on-5 fight, he dives into the backline with his ultimate, but immediately gets turned on.
And it's so important for Dimmy to pick up those 2 kills on that rotation. He's already so far behind in farm, and to make that commitment to teleport to that fight, it needed to be worth it for him, and it definitely was. 2 kills go the way of Dimmy, and that allows him to get towards that tankiness that he needs to frontline.
This is just going to give him confidence, too. I mean, he was soloed 3 games in a row. Dimmy was one of the he's always been one of the highlight stars of this NRG lineup. He was known as the best solo laner in Europe for so long, and just to have almost be demoralized in those first 3 games, just making sure he doesn't die early, get him on the board a little bit.
And usually whenever NRG has their backs against the wall, it's Dimmy putting his foot down and saying, okay, it's time for me to come and play. We saw it up against Luminosity. Dimmy gets his tier in solo Scary D right off the bat, but it's really been Variety who's made the most of this lane.
Captain Twig just got spotted out by a ward there, looking to aggress onto Dimmy. Instead, they'll turn their attention to the tier 1 tower. Bit of damage there just to whittle it down and fall back again.
Pretty Prime gonna eat the sun in the middle lane, but he's got that sustain from Panda-like. This is the first time the NRG's had some sustain to counter the Sylvanas. They've got the Terra this time around.
Oh, in the jungle, the Ragnarok is gonna pick him up and drag him on a merry adventure. The Execute's available, and he's gonna find it this time. Kraken doesn't really do much to Prime, but in the sky you still got Ratatoska, and Adapting makes it a 1-for-1, but Variety's back.
He's got the double, misses the Death Scythe, but it's Pretty Prime able to find an exit north in the jungle of NRG, in a Variety and Captain Twig working together as they have all game. Variety 3-0 already.
This is so dangerous. Again, 2 games in a row, just having such a huge kill lead early on. Dimmy, we just mentioned it, doing a great job of making that rotation with a teleport up at the Gold Fury, but again, he's just too far behind. Even though he got those kills, Variety was able to free farm up a ton of waves, and Dimmy just can't match the damage output of Variety right now. We're seeing Death Scythe chunk into a warrior for over a third of his life at this stage in the game.
Well, remember, Death Scythe does 10% of the maximum HP, so you're going to see that chunk the warriors. And speaking of chunking, this Gold Fury getting chunked down.
Very low and already dead. Obey will get it. Energy not there to respond whatsoever. The gold lead for the 2nd time of the game going towards Obey.
And they need this gold lead because they have such early game pressure on the right-hand side. I mentioned it earlier on. Variety on this Thanatos. This is the first time we've seen a Thanatos actually work out in the early game. Every other time it's been played, it's been in the late game with those 40% executes covering death, but this time Variety making it work where it's designed to work.
And I like the relic choice he's going into for the 2nd game in a row on an Assassin, going for that Sanctuary. He knows that he is going to be diving into the back line right now. He's so far ahead, and so if he does get turned on, especially by that Kraken, he needs to be able to immune that burst.
And just to be clear how far ahead he is right now, normally it's a level a minute in the solo lane you're looking for. He's currently level 15, so if anything, he's almost 3 minutes ahead of schedule.
And Dimmy's actually doing that level a minute sort of deal, but it doesn't even matter. He's so far behind, and because of that, Variety is itemizing like a true assassin. He's not going for that solo tanky build. That's going to be Captain Twig most likely going for that initiator role.
And I like that style, just because he is so far ahead. Not only was he already chunking players, but now he does it. He's just doing more on top of that with the penetration, also getting that bonus movement speed from the shield of regrowth, going to make him really hard to lock down in fights.
That's the big thing. We've seen this time and time again from Thanatos. just this shield of regrowth, giving him that extra movement speed to chase you down. Death Sight's going to slow you, but then getting that extra boost because he's healed off of it so key.
Captain Twig right now is still going into the damage-oriented style, though. Titanbane very early on, just focusing on these penetration style of builds. He's fallen off a little bit, adapting, doing a great job of farming up, but it's at Demi's expense. We've seen him soak up so many waves when Variety has already been out pressuring him. Now a 4-level difference just to make sure adapting stays even in farm.
But stop me if you've heard this one before. Emilito is the one waiting for NRG to come in and make the impact. It's been Variety versus Emilito this entire, the last 2 games, basically. Emilito on the left-hand side, 2-0-4, farming up very, very nicely, sitting about 2nd in net worth last time we checked in. Very, very strong play.
And it's surprising to me, Variety, just gonna be forced to ult there, but it's surprising to me to not see Captain Twig try and focus out this Freya early. She's incredibly susceptible to ganks, and we haven't seen Captain Twig rotate over any time in the early game, and this has allowed Freya to get to a great spot, has 2 items online.
Speaking of Captain Twig, he's looking aggressive on the right-hand side instead. Demi is going to be focused, but the wall from Terra is going to block his escape route. Still Captain Twig wants to go in. Variety's here with pretty prime on the backside, but the Kraken hits 2 from Yamin, and it's actually the boys of Obey. They've got to run.
They've got to run, but they find the double knockup, adapting, able to find it, but Twig's so tanky thanks to those boots. Panda-like doing his best to run away, but that tanky tree able to escape out of it.
Meanwhile, left-hand side, we've got a man fight going on between Ataraxia and Emilito as well. Ataraxia is running for his life. Emilito not going to find the banish. NRG recognizing this, he wants the kill. The Acorns will not do enough damage.
And right now, Ataraxia just getting outboxed by Emilito. Great control of this lane right now. And this is really surprising to see. Jingwei, very good. He wants to take boxing fights against a Freya, but somehow we haven't been watching the lane. Emilito's been outboxing Ataraxia on cooldown.
But Emilito's in the sweet spot right now for a Freya player. You've got your 3 items. This is the biggest power spike that Freyas get. It used to be the late game sort of oriented build, but ever since the buff to her Pulse Irradiate combination, making it last a longer amount of time, you can just put
that banish miss from Emilito. That could have been different. Ataraxia's looking to trade. He's getting low, and he's going to fall down. Emilito had enough mana for just a banish pulse combo, and that's all it was required.
But that's no coincidence that adapting shows up for a gank the first time whenever Emilito has those 3 items complete. I love the map awareness from adapting, just knowing when his players are going to power spike.
And this is just enabled also by the fact that Emilito has been outboxing, out-trading Ataraxia. Even though Ataraxia didn't die to him in any 1v1 situation, he was having his airstrike force, he was having his relics force. He didn't have either that or the Sanctuary up for that rotation.
I find it really strange though, but once again, we're going to have to mention Variety because he's the only one in the lead on this side of Obey right now. Every other lane is technically losing.
I mean, look at this. Captain Twig, 1-4. Pretty Prime, 0-2. Panda-like, 0-2. Ataraxia, 0-2. But Variety hasn't been a part of any fights. He's 3-0-0. He just hasn't been rotated around this map at all.
Well, mid lane being pressured here by NRG, feeling the strength in this right now. But over from the left-hand side comes Captain Twig. They really want Yamin, but Yamin's just too quick. Instead, they have to go for Emilito. Variety dunks onto Yamin too, but Yamin still has his purification up. Instead, Obey that shell very late.
Demi coming around the right side though, looking for the pin. He's going to be spotted out by Variety and able to keep him away with that death sight.
NRG are just playing around the Fenrir ultimate so well in these team fights. Not even there in the middle lane, but even earlier on the right-hand side. We saw the combination. Captain Twig ults onto Demi. We see the Earthshaker, but Demi's able to walk into his tower because he was able to back up so fast. The second Captain Twig jumps in, NRG are backing up, and even if Captain Twig can grab someone, the Earthshaker's not enough damage to finish them off.
And there you see the power of the Poseidon passive. I mean, you're just so fast in that scenario. And then I love the sprint pop from Rapper. He's judging the distance, waiting to see if it's necessary. The speed buff from Captain Twig, as well as the increased movement speed from Ragnarok, makes it so, and they're able to get out of there.
And there's a sprint picked up for Panda-like as well, but they haven't really been able to use it aggressively. And the focus is Captain Twig again. He has to be the initiator for this team. And if he's jumping forward and NRG are just disengaging every single time, Obey need to switch up their gameplay and bait NRG into them.
I'm talking about baits. Well, the Gold Fury was pulled there by Obey, looking to try and bring NRG over towards this side of the map. Obey feel they can do the Gold Fury here quite clearly, or at least take a fight.
There, Captain Twig going in, initiating. Emilito, no beats, Earthshaker!
Not enough to kill him though, as the Kraken only hits Panda-like. Ataraxia is forced out of the fight to the bottom line, but Variety will clear up Emilito. Pulled into the danger field is Dimmy. Great ult from Panda-like 2. Obey are fighting back once more.
And there it is, baiting the relics and then taking advantage when they're down. Yaman just trying to keep Twig off of his red buff, but all the while, Obey gonna pick up their second Gold Fury of the game.
And Captain Twig plays that flawlessly. Left-hand side of the Gold Fury, 0 wards for NRG. He waits in that little corridor, forcing Emilito to push forward because the Gold Fury was being started. But Obey had no intention of committing to it. They wanted that fight. They wanted Emilito to push up without those relics to pick him off.
And that's the thing, is that Emilito, they recognize how much work he's been doing for NRG in this set and in this game. I love the identification of who needs to be killed, and they execute it perfectly.
Well, you hear by the crowd how excited they are right now because the gold lead stretches to 4.7k. 5,000 experience as well in favor of Obey. And let's be honest, it really all came down to that last fight.
Absolutely, it was a really back and forth game before that, but it's Variety. You mentioned it, Kevin, he wasn't a part of a whole lot of fights before this. The one fight he's a part of, Obey win handily, able to find the execute on Emilito.
He's level 20 right now. He's so far ahead of NRG. You just need to fight and play around him. Ult going to be forced here, not that big of an issue. I don't think NRG are no, they are. It's actually, surprisingly enough, it's a 5-man group up around this Fire Giant. Are they going to try and siege the tower?
I don't know if they can really go for the Fire Giant here, but knowing Variety's ultimate down, maybe they feel this is the play. They are going to start the Fire Giant, and over on the corner comes Prime, hit by the Whirlpool. Sanctuary's the Kraken now. Doesn't take a lot of damage from that overall, but Adaptive still following up. That meatball was amazing, but not good enough to stop one of the best junglers in the world.
Now Variety on the run. Sanctuary slowed out, stunned by Adapting, but he turns it around!
Over the wall comes Twig. He picks up one and takes him like a dog with a bone. Back under the tower. Dimmy's turtle will keep him alive, but NRG, they managed to pick up Variety. And Panda-like brings him back in again.
Sanctuary saving Yaman's life. All these relics being used. Now Emilito going underneath the tower, looking for the kills. He's forced away as well. Not enough tower damage for NRG to keep this push.
Just like the Gold Fury for Obey, baiting in for a fight more than anything. NRG, they saw two things. They saw one, Jingwei on the left-hand side. They knew they wouldn't have to deal with her for at least 15 seconds for her to back and passive into the fight. And also that ultimate coming out for Variety. No execute to worry about. They started up the Fire Giant. Sure, if Obey don't contest, they get it. But if someone comes, they know it's not going to be a full squad. And the immediate commit onto Pretty Pride.
Well, only Emilito's here to stop the Fire Giant right now against Sue. Double banish is good. Forcing the reset and looking to apply more pressure with Dimmy teleporting in as well. They'll find the pin on Captain Twig, forcing the purification, but Ataraxia with a fantastic gust will slow them down.
But a sprint popped by Dimmy. He knows they had to get out of danger quickly thanks to that rotation from Panda-like. The Dancer and the Fire Giant just trying to find, both teams are trying to catch the other sleeping right now.
And I don't think either of them are going to be looking to force it anymore, at least for another minute. Way too many relics down across the board. Adapting has a Sanctuary. Emilito has both his up, and there's a shell for both teams, but likely to just slow this pace down. Neither team really has the burst to be able to do this. It's going to be a fight every single time.
And Pretty Prime's got to be careful with his positioning because it's going to be the Kraken searching for him. They know his Sanctuary's down for another 30+ seconds.
Captain Twig pops a Ragnarok early there. He was looking for a pick on the right-hand side. Variety's with him though, and they're actually going to pick up one member, which is Rafa, straight into the ultimate, but Rafa is oh so tanky. He may be able to turn this around. The rotation for NRG is on the way.
But the shell and ult are good from Panda-like. Variety forced up into the sky. Adapting's there with the Pretty Prime, taking a bunch of damage. There's the Kraken from Yaman.
And now Variety's in trouble too. NRG get 2 quick kills. On top of him, Dimmy hits him as well. now. Forcing purification of Ataraxia and the airstrike. Now it's just Panda-like against the world.
Panda-like will miss you, buddy. Yaman's able to pick him up. 4 kills for the mid laner for NRG. And just like you mentioned, the relics were down on the side of Obey. NRG takes the counter initiation.
Good stun coming out from Captain Twig there, but he's just going to have to retreat. This is going to be a Fire Giant for NRG, and Captain Twig just can't get the target he wants. Emilito still has both his relics. Instead, he's got to pick up Raffer, and Raffer is just too tanky on this at this point in the game. There's not enough damage on the side of Pretty Prime for them to commit 2 ultimates into a Terra.
And when you were running through which relics were up, you called the big one, Shell for Raffer. It came in perfectly timed. He put down, and then the shell came out before the Earthshaker. If we see that Earthshaker hit while Raffer is still in Captain Twig's mouth, we could see Variety come crashing down for a 40% execute, but it just was a little mistimed.
At the very, even then, it's still a risky play. You're committing 3 ultimates to kill a Terra. If that goes poorly, you lose the fight. And we saw that happen right there.
Well, right now, 5 members of NRG have the Fire Giant. They took the tier 1 on the right-hand side. The Gold Fury has respawned here, and I'm pretty sure we're expecting it's going to go the way of NRG. Will Obey really contest this?
I don't think they can, and you can see they feel the same way. Ataraxia backing right in front of it. No reason to fight a Fire Giant team away from your towers. You need that extra defense that your towers provide for you to fight into this sort of lead.
And Obey now taking the NRG or Cloud9 strat. When you start to get behind, when you know a team is grouping with a Fire Giant, start split pushing, looking for any objectives you can.
But Obey, they know this as well. They're positioning in the jungle around the area, trying to control it and slow it down. Adapting goes to the sky.
They're looking for Variety, who's trying to finish off the tower. No, Panda-like is the focus. Finds one with the knockup, but Panda-like is falling way too fast. He's gonna fall. Emilito able to pick him up.
They get the tier 2 tower, but that's all they're gonna get. Meanwhile, Ataraxia's coming mid, looking for Raffer, as Ragnarok from Captain Twig was used there. Not sure whether looking for a pick or just instead looking to escape.
Probably just looking to escape. I think he was trying to figure out which path to go. He didn't know exactly where NRG were coming from, but again, a great engage coming out for NRG. They actually used Raffer on the left-hand side to make sure that Ataraxia couldn't back and get to that fight. He has his ultimate. That's going to be a global boost to not only, it's just a huge boost to your team. You're able to take that fight very easily. And again, it was the double assassins for Obey on the front line, and they're just not tanking up at this point to deal with it.
Well, NRG right now, in the grand scheme of things, with the Fire Giant, are looking to build a lead here. Strip down these tier 2 towers before they even look towards Phoenixes.
Another minute and a half remaining on this Fire Giant buff. This is okay for Obey right now. They've lost a Gold Fury and 2 tier 2 towers with Fire Giant. Panda-like as well, but only level 16. He's not worth a whole lot at this stage. Plus, Obey has picked up a tier 2 tower in their favor. If Obey is able to defend a Fire Giant or Phoenix push from the remaining Fire Giant members, this could be a good position for them.
And Sylvanas, again, one of the best gods at counter initiations. The ultimate going to be very important. We've seen it already, adapting, diving into the backline, and we're seeing not only Panda-like finding those knockups, but Pretty Prime has been perfect with the magma bombs as well, and it's making it very hard for adapting to stick on the targets he wants.
But that being said, I think he's had a quiet, very good game. He's sitting at 4-2-10 right now. He's been a part of 14 of NRG's 16 kills, using that global pressure very well.
And to be fair, Adapting's also second on the damage chart, so you can't really sit there and we can't really go, Adapting's not been involved in this game. It's the top 3 damage dealers for this team: Adapting, Yamin, and Emilito. Tier 1 falls, tier 2 now being sieged as well.
The difference here is that Obey haven't really grouped as a 5 defensive unit. The fights have been split, or they've actually been the initiators. If it's a unit, if it's 5-man grouping, it's going to be a lot harder for him to get to that back line. Split push actually coming out from Variety, though, on the right-hand side.
And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, I guess if Obey isn't going to take the fight anyways, you'd like Variety to continue to get that farm up. He's almost full build. I assume that's going to be a Bloodforge finishing off that build. No defense whatsoever. I mean, you've got a little bit from Shield of Regrowth, like very, very few protections, but everything else is all about the damage for Variety right now.
And it's very important for him to find the executes into these fights. He needs that Earthshaker to get someone in that execute threshold, that 40%, under 40% marker, because there's been too many times in these fights where his ultimates have come out, and then the Captain Twig and Pretty Prime, the synergy hasn't been there to get their opponents low enough, and then when he ults in, he's just always in a bad spot.
Well, Fire Giant is 30 seconds away from spawning here, and that's why you see the dance start to begin. Wards being placed down by both teams, and Variety just showing those death sides is still swinging.
Very, very hard. Captain Twig jumping in, finding the double stun, but it's still just posturing for ward coverage around this Fire Giant. No more sentries remaining in inventory for Obey. They've got to let this one sit on the Fire Giant.
And look at this, 2 sprints for Energy on top of the Terra ultimate. They have so many ways to disengage and re-engage fights. That's why it's been so hard for Captain Twig to find these pickoffs in these games.
Adapting has got spotted out on the right-hand side there by Pretty Prime, so he can't swing around the back for the time being, but rather just dashing in, trying to push back Obey just a little bit here.
And that's really, really great against the Vulcan. No mobility as well as variety. We've seen him up in the front line throwing around death sights, but if one of these pins connects, if a crushing earth connects, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. No purification, only has that sanctuary.
Pin onto 2, really doesn't find a home there once again, as the pull from Panda like isn't finding even, but the taunt from Jimmy's good. The Kraken's even better, but still Obey stands tall. The shells are down, Captain Twig is running, and Amelito gets one. Amelito's looking for another potentially, and Variety does not get the execute he was looking for. Amelito cleans him up.
Amelito just doing it all for Energy. Panda like not going to be able to get
3.
it. Triple kill for Amelito. Energy pushing down the Phoenix.
And now they can push on again. Look for this Phoenix, because the members of Obey have to fall back. The players on your screen intently focused right now. Adapting tanked it up as long as he could, mainly with Ataraxia beating him down. But right now the defense from Obey is just good enough.
Amelito's doing all the damage in the world, but here we see the weakness of Freya, not able to push down these towers whatsoever.
And it's going to be important that we see Energy clean wipe Obey if they're going to be able to start successfully sieging. Pretty Prime has a lot of damage, and Vulcan actually one of the better gods at defending Phoenixes, just because that turret covers the entire range, and Energy need to be able to deal with that.
Ataraxia trying to poke his head around the Fire Giant, instead he gets ulted, knocked up as well. Fire Giant goes the way of Energy, and now they will fall back and spend the gold they got from the last engagement.
Energy just looking so clean right now. Amelito especially, that was a really excellent Vulcan ultimate that connected onto multiple targets, but then you saw Variety waiting to try and execute Adapting. He was the only one in range, but Adapting's gonna be able to hang in the air far, far longer than Variety will be able to. There's just no engage on Obey. There's no way for them to get into the back line and make Amelito's life difficult.
And I want to go back to it, 2 sprints and Terra's ultimate. There's so much movement speed on Energy. You saw there, that last fight on the right-hand side, there was the Earthshaker thrown out immediately. Energy disengage, and they're just able to pop that secondary sprint afterwards to force the fight.
Well, Obey were looking for a sneaky bait near the goal fury there, waiting for Energy to make their mark and go for it, but instead, Energy sniffed it out and fall back themselves, knowing the goal fury isn't that important right now.
And I like the idea from Obey, because they don't want to take the fight 5v5. They're hoping for 1 or 2 stragglers to come into that Gold Fury pit, check out what's going on, and especially Amelito, because he doesn't have those two defensive relics up. Yes, Valkyrie's Discretion will help him out for a while, but Variety can wait out that aerial ultimate.
And Amelito has to be a priority target in these fights. He's been doing way too much damage. You can see him sitting at the top of the player charts, and he has been virtually left alone this entire game. There wasn't even a gank onto him on the left-hand side at any point in this match.
Well, right now the Gold Fury is going to fall the way of Energy once more, as Obey did fall back to their Phoenixes, expecting that they couldn't fight Energy right now. The gold lead has stretched again, and we're talking about 8,000 right now. 11,000 in experience, because it still matters, as some players of Obey are still not level 20.
But there's no more free gold on the map right now. There's no more big objectives either. Both Gold Fury and Fire Giant down, and going back to what Aggro said, there's not a lot of structure damage onto Energy. Meanwhile, Obey, they have a great defense with Sylvanas and Pretty Prime. On top of that, Gust is very disruptive when you try and dive onto a back line.
I absolutely agree with you. It's going to be very difficult for Energy to actually get in and take these Phoenixes down, even with that Fire Giant buff remaining for another minute and 40 seconds. I'd almost like to see a Polynomicon be picked up by Amelito to try and augment that tower damage.
But the team fights, though, for Energy are just so strong. What about just focus and Obey as a team? Ignore the Phoenixes until you take down the team.
The issue is that Obey want that. They want to just have this fight where the Phoenix is pumping out a ton of damage and they can play around their fountain, going in and out of the fight. NRG don't really have a lot of instant burst outside of the Kraken.
Well, the Phoenix is starting to be now by NRG. The Fire Giant's on them for a while. The no minion wave now means it's a little bit more difficult to bring down once more. We already mentioned the minions give it help.
And I love the turret positioning from Pretty Prime, daring NRG to come dive that Phoenix. Like you mentioned, Kevin, so difficult to siege against that. Oh, the pull on the Yemen, though, forces the relic.
Now with that going on as well, right, he's got a lot of trouble here. Sanctuary down, Emilito gets one. The world champions are pushing into the base.
Earthshaker not going to find the mark. Rapper getting pulled towards the Titan, but it doesn't matter. Ataraxia doing his best to fend off the world champion.
And he's still alive for the time being, but NRG don't mind. They can go towards the middle Phoenix as well. Rapper's a little low, but he is Terror. He can sustain back up once more. Obey, they wait in their base, knowing there's only one Phoenix between them and going home second place.
Captain Twig here looking for the rotation in, but no ultimate. Variety, the only one, but he's dead for another 28 seconds.
Variety does have ult, though. They really, Obey, need to try and hold this as much as possible.
The pull on the like is good, but straight away Emilito will Sanctuary round the back. Adapt King is here, looking to dissuade them from fighting. Forced out is Ataraxia. One more hit is all they need. Emilito might be able to get it. No, he's forced out by Captain Twig, who will lose his life in trade.
Emilito up into the sky, Valkyrie's discretion, poking down Panda-like. All the while, though, the third Phoenix falls.
And Obey still trying to fight, but Dimmy's there with the ultimate once more. Ataraxia can't get
Variety
in there.
TP behind them.
But can he get an execute? He can. It's on Rapper. There's two. He's looking for a third. It's going to be on Yamin. He picks up three. Obey. They hold their base.
He's a god. He is a god this set. Obey. Backpacking right now into Variety. He respawns. NRG taking too long to get those kills, the sieges, and he just teleports right behind them. He's able to pick off two players. Somehow, though, adapting, finds Pretty Prime isolated in the jungle by himself.
It's no coincidence that as soon as Variety dies, NRG is able to do whatever they want in the team fight. They need to keep him alive, but with this build, it's just been so difficult.
And this is really important for Obey right now. With all three Phoenixes down, getting this Fire Giant away from NRG is very important.
I remember this. Season 1 regionals, there was 2 players on a Titan team, 3 Phoenixes down that were able to survive and come out with the win.
I don't know,
Ataraxia and Pretty Prime.
I don't know if they could do it this time around, that's for sure, but they can't get the Fire Giant because Dimmy and Adapting show their face. So now they're going to have to hold in their base, wait for NRG to get the Fire Giant, and then siege and defend against NRG. And not just NRG, but fire minions from every lane.
This is a tall task to ask of Obey, but with the way Variety is playing, you gotta give him at least a little bit of a shot, but he might be caught out here on the right-hand side. He recognizes that, it immediately pops up into the air.
But they're trying to chase him. On the mini-map, they're trying to chase him down here. Terror as well. Variety's in trouble. Ruin in place. NRG, no! He was a key to victory, and they bring him down!
The sprint and Terra ult, they're just able to completely cover every single option. You saw NRG split in different directions, just trying to pick off Variety. They know he has been the one that has allowed Obey to get this close to beating them in this set.
It's heartbreaking. You know, you're in a position to try and make a comeback, but just in the wrong spot. You try and use the ultimate, still not able to get quite far enough away. Variety had such a good game, but that's a tough death there.
Well, there's 4 members left, and into the sky goes Adapting. The ultimate's weighing down. The Titan is under siege. NRG are looking to be world champions again, and they've done it. Long live the King! And once again, the King is Europe!
NRG reigns supreme 2 seasons in a row, successfully defending their world title. But shout outs to Obey, what a set.
They played great, but they just could not handle Emilito. Emilito on these magical hunters, just way too strong for Obey to fight into.
And continue in NRG, continue to hold the title of not being defeated in such a long, long time.